The Celtics garden party continues as they sweep a 4-game homestand over the Cleveland Cavaliers and Orlando Magic to move to 14-0 on the season before heading out west. Adam Taylor is here with me to break it all down. Next on Green with Envy. What's good, everybody? We are live on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, in our very own rooms. And this will be up on the Green with Envy podcast feed later tonight. I'm Greg Manakis, and I got my main man, Adam Taylor, here with me. Adam, I know it's late for you over there in the UK, so thanks for staying up to talk some Celtics hoops with me.
Yeah, man, of course it's not too bad. And an early game where there's a win is not something that I've been able to experience in a hot minute. So being able to get that over the Magic 2-0, last two games they went out and handled their business. I'm happy to be here, dude, man. I just want to talk some hoops.
Let's get into it. So we're going to hit y'all with a morning box score here in just a second. But before we do that, Adam, was there anything like high-level takeaways, quick summary of what you saw watching the game today?
Yeah, I mean, Quater's screening has improved since the start of the season. Before, if you go back and watch some of the stuff he was doing early in the season, he was a step behind where you'd want him to be on that screener, or a step too low. He's setting them higher up. He's a lot more active. He's lots of screening actions late in the third, early in the fourth from Quater that stood out. Pritchard stood out quite a bit over the last two games. And I tweeted it out, but Jason Tatum's off the dribble game has just looked way better these past two games, and that's been a concern throughout most of the season and all of last season. So it's good to see him knocking down jumpers off the dribble.
Definitely. Yeah, we'll get into that here in just a second. I am doing all the production stuff right now. So I got the morning box score pulled up. Let's get this music rocking here, and we can get into this morning box score. The Celtics take down the Orlando Magic 114-97, sweeping a 2-game miniseries against a team many people were starting to get concerned about, but it seems all it took was a little home cooking to right the ship. For the Magic, Paolo Banchero was a man-child all night. I can't wait to talk a little bit about Paolo here with you, Adam, scoring 36 points on 14 of 30 from the field, but he didn't get much help from anyone else on the roster, as Jalen Suggs was the only other player in double figures. Franz Wagner was in jail all night, shooting 3 for 14 from the field. Tough weekend for Franz, and his big brother Mo made no impact on the game in either game this weekend. For the Celtics, this one was a well-rounded effort. Jaylen Brown did steal the show with 31 points, 6 assists, 5 rebounds, 1 steal, 1 block on 12 of 20 from the field, 5 of 8 from 3, 17 points in an amazing fourth quarter, and only 2 turnovers. Jason Tatum was not far behind him, dropping 23, 8 and 2 on 4 of 6 shooting from distance, and 1 statement block on his Duke brethren, Paolo Banchero, to really put an exclamation point on this victory. Drew Holiday chipped in with 14 first half points. Derek White filled up the stat sheet again, as Derek White does, 10 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 blocks, and 1 steal. The stock exchange was up today, totaling 6 stocks combined between the two. Kristaps Porzingis had a double-double in his return from calf tightness, and the bench was also very impactful, as Al Horford, Peyton Pritchard, Sam Hauser, and Nehemias Queta all played well in their minutes. So, Adam, now that we've gone through our morning box score, where do you want to start? I'm going to let you kind of handle this thing here.
I mean, we have to start with Jaylen Brown, right? Dude been balling out these last few games. I think he's really kind of found his rhythm, found how to excel in the role that Joe Mazzulla is asking him to play. I know there was a few graphics going around, a few people poking fun at him because he had a stretch with a bunch of points and no assists. Last few games, he's been making the right reads, making smart reads. I wouldn't call them exceptional passes, but they're high-level reads. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's making the right decisions at speed. He looked like, towards the end of the game, just looked like he was gliding out there. Didn't feel like he was forcing anything. He was smooth. He was silky. And there was a couple of times where he kind of ran himself into trouble and then just looked for his spot around the nail where he likes to go for that mid-range jumper and just drained them, dude. I think that he's playing some of the best basketball we've probably ever seen Jaylen Brown play. I don't know how you can poke holes in the performances you're seeing from him at the moment. And again, it's just the role he's put in really suits him. It's almost like I'd mentioned this 2 years ago.
Yeah, he's playing great. And then the thing that's standing out to me, and he's talked a lot about it, campaigning for first team defense and whatnot. And while I don't think he's going to get there this year, I think the conversation of his defense is probably going to take a full year to kind of catch up with what's actually happening on the court. Did get back cut a couple times today, but the one time he really got back cut, Jason Tatum was there to save his ass with that block off on Paolo Banchero. But Jalen's defense, man, is something that I've been impressed with, just his willingness to take on challenges. He's picking up the ball at half court. He's guarding guys like Mo Wagner. I mean, not Mo Wagner, Franz Wagner, and just really taking on the challenge to be more physical. Jalen, I think when he's locked in on defense, we all know what Jaylen Brown can be on defense. So it's great to see him kind of taking on that challenge, taking pride in that. And when Jalen's playing basketball the right way, the rest of the team, it's pretty easy for everybody else to follow suit, because he's kind of the one guy, him and Tatum a little bit, but Tatum, he's kind of on another level than JB. But JB, when he's not getting sticky with the ball, it really makes the offense hum.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I'm really noticing at the moment is when Brown pushes the pace, play after play, it's kind of lighting a fire under Tatum to kind of do the same thing. There was a few possessions earlier in the game where Tatum's bringing the ball up, he crosses over the half-court line, then all of a sudden turns on the Jets and just bullies his way to the rim. And part of me thinks that that's kind of like Jaylen Brown's doing it and finding success. Tatum's like, I want to get myself going. I'm big, I'm strong, I can glide. And he's kind of following suit. Now, I do know that obviously the first game against Orlando, the Celtics had no choice but to push the pace. They didn't have size, but they had speed and skill. This game was different. You have Al Horford back, you have Kristaps Porzingis back, but you still play a little bit faster than what we're used to them playing at throughout the first quarter of the season. I hope that stays. There was a good blend of set actions and kind of early offense, transition offense. And Brown's like the focal point of that, and Peyton Pritchard, to give him his flowers, because he's really been pushing the pace too. But those two guys there, they're bringing the best out of everybody around them, because there's just so much more gravity when teams are trying to build out to the ball in transition and someone's just driving at you into the tee, forcing those collapses. Everybody else is kind of just able to walk into their shots or walk into their secondary drives.
Yeah, like you mentioning the pace, because one thing that I'm noticing is when they're getting the ball, like anybody who gets a rebound, they're not just trying to take the ball coast to coast, right? They're immediately looking for the first outlet, and then the first outlet is looking for the second outlet, and all of a sudden the ball's up, on the wing with 21 seconds on the shot clock, and they're playing in transition. They're flowing into a lot of actions. I know that's something that you've been kind of big on this year, not running a lot of sets. They're just kind of flowing in a lot of what they're doing. I think a lot of that has to do with Drew Holiday pushing the pace, Derek White pushing the pace. And then, as you mentioned, Peyton Pritchard, man, we've had a lot of conversations on this show about whether or not the Celtics need to make a move. I tweeted out about a week ago, I said Peyton Pritchard has about a month to prove that he belongs in this rotation, that he would be able to hang in a game 7. It doesn't look like that any game 7 the Celtics play this year is going to end up on the road the way that they're playing right now. But a game 7 on the road, Peyton Pritchard's got to be able to go out there and make an impact. If the game 7's at home, I think Peyton Pritchard's going to make an impact, because he's playing great right now whenever we are in TD Garden. But other guys that I want to kind of point out, man, I want to go to Horford. Now, there was a big play in the fourth quarter. I tweeted about it. You retweeted me. Thank you for that. Anytime you can retweet me, gets my likes up by at least 10%. But Horford sprinted the court. I think it was Derek White was coming up the left wing. Horford full sprint down the court, beats everybody down the court. They throw the ball over the top to him, catches the ball right under the basket, kicks the ball out to Jalen for a 3 that really got Jalen going from 3. But that effort from Al Horford and what we've seen out of Al Horford over the past month has been really eye-opening.
Yeah, I mean, Horford, for me, in that play specifically, the way he sprinted, the way he was one of the first people down the floor, you end up getting this kind of like nail touch, but like the ball's entered at the nail, but obviously it's deeper by the time he catches it. But it was a touch pass straight back out to JB in the corner. I have it in I like to clip, and I kind of keep a folder for each game, so then I can go back and see how things have evolved. I've got it labeled as Horford unselfish play. because that's literally what he is. He sprints the floor. He deserved the bucket himself. He probably could have finished through the defense and through that little bit of contact that was there. But he saw JB, knew that it was a higher quality shot, knew JB would be able to knock it down off the catch, just touch pass out. And when you look at Horford, just what he brings to this team and the kind of bedrock that he is to the entire rotation, it's easy to forget that this dude's 37. Like, I mean, I just said he was the first guy down the floor. He's 37. I'm not the first. I'm 36, and I can guarantee I don't care what floor I'm on with who, I'm not the first one down there. Probably the last. You know what I mean? Like the commitment that he's had to put in to keep his body in that shape, and just the way he's been playing, especially on the glass. He's been such a big factor on the glass over the past, I'd say, month and a half. And then his 3-point shooting's come on. You know, that's back up a bit because I know he struggled during the playoffs. It was a little bit cold to start the season as he adjusted to that bench role. He's just been such a big blessing coming off the bench. And after having Malcolm Brogdon last season as your sixth man, I really don't feel like there's been much drop off in that six-man production. It's just coming from a different part of the court.
Yeah, Al's averaging 7.4 points, 6.9 rebounds per game. One thing that I'm really liking about Horford, especially when we're full strength, is just the minutes that we're seeing out of Al, right? Where the last 4 games, he's at 24 minutes, 22 minutes, 27 minutes, and then 5 games ago against the Pacers, 31 minutes, right? So they're not overtaxing Horford. And this is something that we've talked about a lot. And last year with Rob's inconsistencies and his inability to stay on the court, Horford was just playing way too many minutes. And I think that kind of caught up with him towards the end of the season, despite being in the great shape that he's in. You know, we asked Al Horford to do a little bit too much. You know, and that's why we went out and got Porzingis. We got Porzingis to go up against big teams like the Cavs, to go up against big teams like the Magic. You see Nikola Jokic out west. You see the Lakers with their big team that they're able to throw out there. All these teams around the league, the real contenders, have size. That's why I wasn't big on the Warriors coming into this season. I didn't think they were big enough. And I think the Celtics saw the trend happening around the league and said, we need to go get Porzingis because we can't just continue to rely on Al Horford and maybe Rob Williams is able to stay healthy. And unfortunately for Rob, as we've already seen, he's out for the season, right? So Horford playing the perfect role for him at this stage in his career, I think it's doing wonders for him.
Yeah, and part of me was very, I wouldn't say shocked, but I definitely expected them to roll with Horford in the last game against Orlando due to Porzingis and Cornet being out, and me being like, well, you know, Horford's playing a bench role, his minutes are down. Can you get away with being a little bit more fluid with when you sit him? Can you pick up an extra game during the season where you kind of rest him? But they've stuck to the plan, and they did this with Malcolm Brogdon all the way through last season as well to manage his minutes, manage his health. Got you all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals before he really picked up any form of meaningful injury, which is great considering it's Malcolm Brogdon. You know what I mean? So you do that with Horford. You stick to the plan because you know that winning a game in early December is not as important as winning a game once the playoffs come round. So they've been really steadfast in the way they've handled him, and I think it's bringing the best out of him. I think he understands that, and he, you know, to a point, if that was me, I'd appreciate that. Like, even when you need me, you're still looking after me first. You're still putting the long term ahead of the short term. And that's only going to make him want to compete harder. You saw the way he played today. He's been balling out. I would like him to use a little bit more Al Horford in the corner, just because why not? I like the way that the big man stretches the floor there. But I want to give Pritchard his flowers again. Pritchard's been cooking from the corners these last 2 games.
Yes, yeah.
You don't really need Al there unless you want to run a handoff action.
So where are you right now with like the trades that the Celtics could make out there, right? There's been a lot of talk about the Celtics maybe needing to go get another big. We've seen great stuff out of Luke Cornett lately. Kata was awesome tonight in the both games, honestly, against the Magic, although he fouled out in the first game. I think his size, his ability, Adam, to play in drop, right? Not in too deep of a drop, right? He's probably like 1 or 2 steps off the screen. And then his ability to play with his hands high and to take up space so that he discourages the guard from taking that floater and is also able to get back to the rolling big and just, recover with his size and his length and athleticism. I've been really impressed with his ability to navigate in the drop the last 2 games. I want to see a lot more reps. And then the guy you mentioned, Peyton Pritchard, he's been awesome these last couple of games. Are you feeling like the Celtics right now need to make a move on either end, or you just want to continue to see them play the great basketball that they're playing?
So I want to see them continue to play the great basketball they're playing. My concern is that for all that we're seeing from Crater right now, once the playoffs come around, he's ineligible. He's a two-way guy. So everything you're seeing now, the insurance you've got from him when Luke Cornett's out, and you're like, that's okay, we'll plug and play is it Nemias? Crater. Nemias. We'll plug and play Nemias. That opportunity disappears once the postseason comes around. And then you're kind of screwed, right? So you have 2 options there. You either convert Crater's contract into a permanent deal, the way that Brad Stevens did with Sam Hauser and Luke Cornett during, was it Ime's season? I think it was during Ime's season. He converted the 2. I may be wrong. It may have been Brad's final. I'm pretty sure it was Ime's. That's an option. And that solves everything in terms of you keep this core together, you're not losing any more assets. You've got that big man depth from a guy that's already been in the system. Crater's shown that he can be serviceable. He's had good moments. He's had bad moments. He's young. He's raw. But if you don't want to do that and you want to keep him in that 2-way system, then a big screams more important to me, because I feel like Banton can soak up a few of the ball handling duties if he needs to. He also gives you some size. I don't really know where you go if Cornet's injured and you need that third big in the rotation. That's why that's the option for me. Where you at with it?
Yeah, I think I kind of feel the same. I've been thinking a lot about converting that 2-way contract, but I just want to see more out of Queta before I, make that decision that we don't need to go out and get somebody off the scrap heap. I think there's not going to be anybody on the scrap heap that is going to be that much better than Queta or that much better than Cornett. I already like what both of those guys can do for the roles that they have to play, right? You're not looking for somebody to come in and replace an Al Horford or replace a Porzingis. It's an emergency big is really what you need to fill in. And with Queta, the fact that he's able to be serviceable in drop coverage, to be athletic, to bang with guys that give us issues like Wagner did down in Orlando, where he just torched us for like 25 points and was like the strongest, most versatile big on the court, which was crazy. Once Porzingis went out, Wagner was the best big on the court. And I thought to myself, what if we throw Queta out there at him against the Hornets, teams like that, where Rob was always such an X factor because he was just the most athletic dude on the court. Like Queta has a little bit of that, right? It's not going to be what Rob Williams was at peak Rob Williams, but the first year of Rob Williams, there are moments where you're like, oh, Queta kind of reminds me a little bit of what we had when Brad just didn't want to go to Rob and he just wanted to play Daniel Tice. I want to say that was around the time that we had Tristan Thompson on the team. Maybe that was the Enes Freedom years. But we just didn't want to go to Rob because he wasn't ready yet in big moments. But games like this, moments like this, I think are really big for the Celtics to evaluate Queta to see if he's worth converting into a 2-way contract. So I think while Luke is out, it's good to see Queta get some run, get some real action against teams that, the Orlando Magic are going to be a playoff team. So it's not like we were going up against the Wizards, Embiid's out there putting up 50 points a night against like the Wizards and the Hornets. It's good to see Queta, just get some run against a real playoff team right now, like the Magic, and make an impact. And with Peyton, I think I kind of stand with what I said a couple weeks ago. It's just like, I need to see him play at this level before the Celtics push some chips in to go get an Alex Caruso or somebody like that. Although the Bulls have come out recently saying they don't want to trade him. I'm sure that's just a ploy to get more assets right in the deal. So I'm happy what I'm seeing out of both of those guys, man. And, yeah, you got anything else on those guys?
Yeah, I mean, the only question I've got for you is, would you go with someone smaller? So you've got size. You've already got Porzingis, who's 7'2". You've got Luke Cornett, that's a 7-foot dude. You've got Al Horford, that's what, 6'10", 6'11", 6'9", somewhere around that region.
With shoes, he's probably 6'10.5".
Yeah, and you're wearing shoes when you're playing. So, would you go smaller and try and replace what you lost with Grant? And the reason I asked this, and I've said this on a few episodes now, is I kind of like what I've seen from Kenny Lofton Jr. in the limited minutes he's been playing for Memphis. I've watched a bit of Memphis this year. Just in terms of like a Grant kind of build, you know, he's a broader guy. He's shorter. He's got a low center of gravity.
If Grant Williams is listening to this episode, he is furious that you just compared his body to Kenneth Lofton Jr.
Well, I mean, rookie body compared to now, he's put on some size. But you know, I just think he's a free agent and got waived today. So you could go and pick him up and slot him in. Do I think he makes a difference? No. Do I think he sees the floor? No. But we're talking about a fourth string guy here.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And if you want to keep Quater or Cater in G League and you want to keep developing him that way, and you want to keep him on a 2-way contract again next season, bringing in someone like Lofton that can play the 4, play the 5, possibly even slide down to you get cooked at the 3, play the 4 or play the 5. That makes sense to me just as much as it does trying to go out and get this magical big man that's on the scrap heap that's going to come in and just change the trajectory of the franchise, which, by the way, is already a really good fucking trajectory.
Right, man. I mean, the Celtics are the best team in basketball right now, without question. I haven't watched enough of the Grizzlies this year. You're, in my opinion, Adam, you are insane for watching the Grizzlies this year, considering everybody's been out. Ja's been out. Marcus been out. Like, I could see you tuning in to watch Marcus, but he hasn't even played.
Yeah, I haven't watched any Oklahoma, and I should be watching OKC over Memphis. So, you know, I don't know what I'm doing.
You're a sicko, dude. You're a sicko. But I think with, what I saw out of, well, first of all, I think Sam Hauser's replaced a lot of Grant Williams minutes, right? So I think the role that we're seeing out of Sam this year, he's been much more serviceable. He's not guarding 5s like Grant did, but he's guarding wings a lot better than I think people were expecting Sam Hauser to guard wings this year. And he's bigger than I think people give him credit for. Sam's a legit 6'7", 6'8", right? He's not some 6'5", 6'4" Max Strus type or Duncan Robinson type. Sam Hauser is like a bigger dude. So I think that he's actually been pretty serviceable there. The guy that, when I think of a small, versatile big, that can kind of function as a small ball 5. I'm looking at our own roster with Lamar Stevens, who got first opportunity to play in back-to-back games. What did you see out of Lamar in the game against Cleveland and then the first game against the Magic?
He played some small ball 5, which is always fun, right? I mean, I didn't see much. He was active. He was rebounding. He was defending. He brought physicality. He'd done everything that was kind of advertised when they picked him up. High energy guy, hustled. I like him more than I like Brissett because I feel like Stevens can knock down some jumpers more than what Brissett could. I also feel like Stevens has just got that little bit, just a tiny bit more burst on that first step. But again, I haven't seen a big enough sample size off both of them to have a definitive kind of opinion on that. I do like the fact that he was versatile enough to slide up to the 5. I feel comfortable knowing that if you need somebody to come into a game and just be a dog on defense, Stevens can do that for you. Like, I think he impressed. I just don't think he did enough to crack the rotation. Maybe he did enough to cement himself as that 9th guy. Do you know what I mean? But I think there's such a jump in talent, in quality and talent level between that like 8th spot and 9th spot that it's just going to be really hard for anyone behind to even have a chance of cracking this rotation. There is a real big jump.
Yeah, and Joe came out a couple days ago and he said that when fully healthy, he feels good about our 9-man rotation. Our starting 5, then Horford, Hauser, Pritchard, and Cornette. I think Joe likes what this iteration of the bench is able to bring. I love the lineups that he's throwing out there. He has that lineup that he goes to when he takes Jalen and Derek White off the court at the same time. He's kind of pairing those two guys together. I think he likes Derek's like all-time level IQ to go with Jalen's developing, processing on the offensive side of the ball. So I think he likes keeping those guys paired together. And then, he goes Pritchard, he goes Hauser, he goes Tatum, Horford, and Porzingis. That's the lineup that he'll throw out there, or he'll sit Porzingis and go Cornette. And that's just like really high level IQ players on the court that all kind of just fit together geometrically on the court as well. We've talked about those stack actions that they're running with the white boy stack, as I call it, with Pritchard, Hauser, and Cornette. There's just actions that they can go to, all the ghost screens that Pritchard and Hauser are running. Like these are just actions that get you high quality looks with high quality shooters. And if that's what the bench is going to be, is just like a bunch of shooters surrounding Jason Tatum in a high pick and roll, I think that's that's enough right now. And we're going to have to see it against some of the better teams, right? To see if the proof of concept that we're seeing right now, from the next time we play Miami, what's that rotation going to look like? The next time we play Milwaukee, what's that rotation going to look like? We're about to go out west right now, which I want to talk about here in a second. What's it going to look like against the Kings? What's it going to look like against the Warriors? I think we play the Lakers here coming up soon too. So like, what's it going to look like against these teams that we might end up seeing in a championship scenario?
Yeah, I mean, going out west is always a challenge for me. I think that's where you really learn where this team's at. If you remember last season, it was that West Coast swing that really derailed them for a hot minute. It's a different style of basketball when you play out west. They just play different. It's just a different ecosystem out there, and the teams are all deep. They're all talented. You've got a game against the Clippers coming up, which is like, that's the retirement home for Hall of Famers right now. So that's going to be a dope game. You're going to get to see the James Harden, Paul George, Kawhi. I'm really interested to see how they deal with Zubac's size and how they go against Zubac's size. I feel like I'm missing somebody. Yeah, I'm missing Westbrook. Sorry, Russ. No hate, no shade. Like he's even going to be watching this, or I know the dude. No shade.
Dude. I saw Karl Anthony Towns posted something. I don't know if you saw this. He like retweeted some like random account that was like, I'm not tweeting again until Karl Towns scores 40 points this year. And then he just scored 40 the other night and he tweeted it out. He retweeted it. He was like, not gonna lie, I saw this before the game. So who knows? Maybe Russ would see that and would come for Peyton Pritchard's head.
Yeah, you just don't know, right? Like, that's going to be a matchup, how Pritchard deals with him. There are going to be some tests, and I'm not one to overreact after a loss anyway. Eventually, you're going to need to lose, and you learn from those losses. You're going to develop more as a team when you drop a game than you are when you keep winning games. But this West Coast swing is going to tell us a lot. The Warriors are starting to figure some stuff out. They're playing a little bit better. Their lineup changes have helped a lot. Big fan of Brandon Podziemski. However you say his name.
Baby. Just call him Pods.
Big fan of Pods. Big fan. But overall, like, I'm not concerned at all. I think this team's perfectly situated where it needs to be. One more point on Stevens is I'd like to kind of envision him being if Drew Holiday's out, I feel like Stevens would be the one to get boosted in the rotation just because of the way that Mazzulla's using Holiday in the dunker spot a lot, in that small dunker. And we saw Stevens do that a bunch in that last game, the first game against Miami. So being able to just take out one guy that plays dog defense and gives you some kind of you can't even call it vertical spacing, right? But you can call it like dunker spacing. Gives you some dunker spacing, and then being able to inject someone in that's a lighter version of that makes perfect sense to me. So I do like Stevens being a backup guy there. I'm really excited for this West Coast swing, though. Not excited for the games, but I'm excited for the actual swing.
Right. So let's kind of set the table there. The Celtics coming up. We play on Tuesday night. Do you have the schedule pulled up by any chance? And I think we play the Kings first.
First of all, no, I don't. And second of all, my schedule will be a day out. So it'll confuse everybody.
All right. Let's see. Today is the 17th. So we play the Warriors next. So we're about to play the Warriors. I'm pulling up the schedule right now, everybody. Bear with me. Okay. So we have back-to-back games this week. Tuesday at Golden State, Wednesday at Sacramento. That is a heck of a back-to-back right there. That's going to be some fun basketball.
Fast-paced basketball.
So that's 9 p.m. Eastern. That's going to be what, like 4 a.m. in the morning for you?
2
a.m. Okay. 2. So yeah, you're not getting up for those.
No.
All right. So we got the Warriors and then the Kings, and then we play back-to-back games against the LA teams. So we're going to be in against the Clippers on the 23rd, and then Christmas Day against the Lakers at 4 p.m. I don't know if my times here are Central Time or Eastern Time because I'm in Central Time zone.
I'm having a look. Christmas Day. That's the only one anyone cares about because it's the Lakers, right? So Christmas Day, 5 p.m. Eastern. Okay. So it's your time. Yeah. So that's 10 p.m. my time, which means my Christmas Day is done. My belly full. The whiskey is full pour. I'm ready to go.
And we need to get through these 4 games because when we get through these 4 games, then it's Detroit, then it's Toronto, then it's San Antonio. So it's nice to, we're going to have a little bit of a break there going up against those teams that are struggling right now. The Pistons can't beat anybody. There's a strong possibility Will and I are actually going to be at the New Year's Eve game at San Antonio So going to be excited to see Wemby in person for that one. But anything that you're interested in seeing? So we got Golden State and Sacramento back-to-back in these next 2 games.
That's going to be fast-paced positionless basketball versus a defense that likes to play physical. So whoever implements their system wins, right? It's going to be, if you look at the way Golden State play, the way Sacramento play, it's very different but very similar at the same time. It's very fast-paced, a lot of off-ball movement. Sacramento like to run their handoff actions between Fox and Sabonis, and then everybody else kind of spaces around. Keegan Murray will be coming in. He went nuts yesterday, by the way.
Crazy.
Absolutely
15
nuts.
from 3.
It was nearly a record, right? I think Clay still got the record, but it was nearly a record. So you got to be concerned there. They space the floor. They do a lot of dribble handoffs. They like to get going downhill, and they like to kind of seal off the trailing defenders. So figuring out how to deal with that's going to be hard, especially if you're going to be going under the screen, because the Aaron can kind of pull up off the dribble from wherever he wants. The Warriors, it's right. How good your perimeter defense, how good your rotation is going to be. They're going to drive, they're going to kick. You're dealing with Steph that's been playing ridiculously good all season. Again, it's just a different style of basketball, man. And this is the test you need, because this is where you really see what this team is made of, away from home, with a lot of distractions around you, especially in the second set of games where you're against both LA teams. You're in LA for how long? Like a 4-day stretch.
Yeah, they'll probably. They're in Sacramento, right, on Wednesday, so they'll probably be in LA on Thursday. They play Saturday, so they're gonna have Thursday night. Well, hopefully they go out Thursday night. If they're gonna go out Thursday night in LA. Chill on Friday, because you got your game at 2:30 p.m. on Saturday, so 3:30 Eastern on Saturday. So I would expect the Celtics not to go out after that, on Friday. And then the next game in LA is Monday, Christmas Day. So they can go on Saturday night too. They can get 2 nights out in LA. Good for the Celtics. Go have some fun. We're going to have some fun watching these games. One thing I'm really excited about is the Kings game. That's my League Pass team. It's been my League Pass team the last couple of years because De'Aaron Fox is one of my favorite players in the league. Love what I'm seeing out of Malik Monk. Trey Lyles is a really nice role player that they got going on there. Your boy Kevin Huerter is, always ready to go off for 8 3-pointers, much like a Bogdanovich does against us. So I'm excited to see those games. Hopefully we have some coverage with Brendan Nunez, who covers the Kings. And that's Adam's boy from back in the day. He's been
homie
a couple times. Brendan's killing it out there. So hopefully we can get him on the pod. Adam, before we wrap up here, I know you got to get to bed. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about?
The Celtics are good, dude. Like, not even just like, this is a good team. Like, these guys are fucking good. Like, there's nothing really to talk about there. I just wanted to put that out there. Like, when they lose again, which they will eventually, because you don't go undefeated all season, just remember the fact that this team is ridiculously talented.
It's like the Richard White comments that he made with that article with Noah, right? It's like he's trying to make Celtics Twitter a less toxic place, a place that we can all just like have conversations about the game and not get too emotional about our takes or about how we feel about certain players and whatnot. And that's kind of where I'm at, man. Like I'm never like overly emotional. Like I'm always having a good time. I think most of the stuff, like the Twitter stuff, is all just fun and games. I don't take any of that stuff too seriously. And I'm just really enjoying what I'm seeing out of this team. We have Jason Tatum, who is now not playing at an MVP level, but we're seeing a consistency out of Tatum that we wouldn't have seen in the past. Tatum's bad games are still 27 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists. It's not the 3 for 17 games with 6 turnovers. We're not seeing those games out of Tatum anymore. We're still seeing him make an impact on both sides of the floor. We're seeing Jaylen Brown make a leap. I've talked enough about Jaylen Brown. People are probably sick of hearing me talk about Jaylen Brown. Derek White entering into the All-Star conversation. We have Drew Holiday, who's been Marcus Smart ×2. We have Kristaps Porzingis, who's completely changed the way that we operate on offense, the spacing that we have. We have Sam Hauser becoming, like, if you had asked me 2 years ago, did I think Sam Hauser would be playing 18 minutes a game and averaging 3 3-pointers a game? I would tell you, you're crazy. Like, Sam Hauser is playing unbelievable basketball. Peyton Pritchard is finding himself. Al Horford is still killing it at 37 years old. And Joe Mazzulla is coaching a good season through 25 games or wherever we're at right now, Joe Mazzulla's had a couple of games where he hasn't made exactly the decisions that I would have made. But Joe Mazzulla knows more about basketball than anybody that's listening to this podcast, right? So trust Joe, trust Brad. They're doing great things on both sides of the court. We've got a great coaching staff. We are set up for success. I'm super excited to do this pod with you, Adam. You know, whenever Will's on the pod, I'm very thankful that we're at this point, and it seems like more and more people are kind of taking Richard White's advice and just enjoying the ride because it is a fun one.
Sorry, I was on mute. No, I think it. First of all, I'd really like Twitter to be a less toxic place, considering I kind of stopped being on there for that reason.
Yeah,
it's
not good for the mental health.
No, but I need to be on there more. I do think it's the best platform for basketball content, and I do want to point out that this team is damn good. And Greg just gave you a reason why 1 through 9 is damn good. So yeah, Richard White is onto something with all of this. The last thing I want to mention is just as you was running through all of these names, it's very easy to look at the box score, as you mentioned with Tatum, is that, you know, his quiet games are like 28, 9, and 5, 28, 9, and 6. It's very easy to look at the box score, see Paolo Banchero went off and be like, oh man, Tatum's really struggling. No, the whole reason this team works is because everyone's taken a step back.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, anyone can go off for 30, 35 on a given night. Brown did it today. Tatum did it a few days ago. I don't think it was against the Magic, but Tatum's had those games. Porzingis has had those games. Derek White has had those games where he's gone like 28, 29. So it's just try not to focus too much on what these guys are doing statistically, because the reason this team is so good is because everybody's kind of giving everybody the opportunity. They're feeding the hot hand, which is what you're meant to do. Ask Kevin Durant. He weren't happy about it the other day when no one fed him.
Yeah.
Pointing it out.
Yeah. And with that, we're going to play you out with some music for the pod listeners. So you're going to hear some music from my band down here in Austin, Texas. We are called Black Sheep Optimists. And this one has a great Jason Tatum reference in it called Get This High. Peace, everybody.